Hello and welcome to episode 176 of Retro Encounter, RPG Fan's weekly podcast. I'm Alana Hagues and I'm your host this week, and joining me, as it's the middle of Tales month, we've got two of the biggest Tales fans on RPG Fan with me, starting with Sybydlo.
Hello. Oh god, I got nothing creative on that.
It's fine, you can take my place.
Steph von Faber. Oh. Yeah, okay, let's go.
Let's do with that. And Mike Sollosi.
Hey, yep, it's me again.
Of the Knights.
Sure.
I don't remember what they're called in this game, though. It's like I think they're just literally.
It's just the Knights, and I'm Mike Sollosi of Guild Retro Encounter.
Oh no!
Perfect.
You stole my line.
I did.
You did.
Oh no! I'm just like Rob Fenner from 2 episodes ago.
That's absolutely fine.
And Alana von Hester. I don't know what Estelle's last name is.
Oh, Cedar Swearison or whatever it is.
Oh wow, you knew it.
You know I know Estelle. Estelle is my soulmate. Anyway, let's get going. So if anyone hasn't guessed, or if anyone hasn't been listening to Retro Encounter for the last couple of weeks, which is bad, you should have been. We're right in the middle of a month of Tales episodes. We did one episode a couple of weeks ago on our favorite Tales of games, and last week we had an episode on action battle systems.
In which Tales featured heavily. Yep.
Tales features heavily, which is a good thing because Tales does have some of the best battle systems ever.
It's probably one of the biggest pioneers and it's the most gung-ho about it.
Exactly, yeah. And for the next 2 weeks, we're revisiting the Tales of series, and for the first time since 2017, when we covered Tales of the Abyss, we're visiting Tales of Vesperia, which is the 2008-2009 10th title in the Tales of series. I am so excited to play this because it's just recently come out on all modern consoles, and having a blast, really. So, yeah, I can't believe it's been 2 years since we've done a Tales of episode, and I'm always surprised that they don't feature more on Retro Encounter, but it's good for variety. And hey,
I blame Mike.
Well, okay, technically it is my fault, but 2 quick points. This is the same crew that we assembled for Tales of the Abyss in 2017, so that's pretty cool. And also, I mean, we only do between like 12 and 15 games a year for game journals, so there's a lot of video games.
There are.
I wouldn't mind doing more Tales myself, but I don't know, never say never, but I think we picked a really good one for this month because Tales of Vesperia might be my favorite in this series. Like, I mean, replaying it for this, I'm remembering more and more finer details that sort of had left my brain, and sort of liking it more and more. It's like, oh yeah, I loved this. Oh yeah, I loved this. Oh yeah, this is like the best Tales game. Mm-hmm. So it's even though it spoiler alert, it did not win our our favorite Tales sort of mini competition 2 weeks ago.
It was. I think it was the one we liked second best, though, and I think that's pretty fair.
It finished strong, but not number one. But Vesperia is excellent. I think the timing was really good for the remake because it's one that a lot of people remember fondly. Tales superfans are probably real excited about getting to that PS3 formerly exclusive content, and it's been long enough that I'm sure people that played it in around the release window are excited to replay it.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a really good buzz about this release, which is really nice because Tales of games don't tend to get a lot of fanfare, but Vesperia seems to have kind of brought everyone out of their corner, and lots of people are trying the game for the first time because it was only on 360 in the West, and then you've got everybody who loved it the first time and is going back to it the second time and having all this new stuff thrown at them and are thinking, oh wow, no, this is really good, and it is really nice to see because, say, Tales of is... It kind of reached a point where it was sitting in a formula. Kind of Vesperia, to me, is the point where the Tales series started to branch out afterwards. So up until, I think we discussed this the other week, up until Vesperia, maybe Graces, there were 2 different studios that worked on these games. This is a Team Symphonia game. And then Graces was a Team Destiny game, and Tales of Destiny as well, obviously. But then after that, Exilia kind of joined the 2 teams together, the 2 artists, everything. And since then, it's never really found its footing completely. So Vesperia is almost like the end of an era, I suppose, to be really cliche. So
yeah, it feels like the sort of last hurrah for the TP combo kind of Tales action.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a good version of that. But still, I'm glad that Tales has basically evolved beyond that, which we've discussed on multiple podcasts by now.
Yeah, at least you know if we're retreading anything on that.
Oh, it's fine. I mean, we're three of the people that were on the episodes 2 weeks ago and 2 years ago, so I'm sure we'll regurgitate some of our opinions and information, but we're being true to ourselves, and that's what's most important.
Exactly. Yep. Team Abyss are back. But yeah, let's dive straight into it. I mean, I was going to ask, because normally we start off by asking what our history is with the series and that, but we've already covered that. So I guess I kind of wanted to ask, what were people looking forward to most when
I
revisiting
think this
this?
is like the last time a protagonist in a Tales game was ever older than me when it came out.
Right?
Oh, jeez. Now that I'm over 30, that is never happening ever again.
But you fall into the old man category now, as proven by
Yeah, it's true. And
Raven.
I always, oh God, I'm probably not far from the age of Clarth or something.
Clarth is 28.
Oh God, I'm older than Clarth.
You're older than Fantasia's old man.
Okay, I'm officially the Osan of the group. Fantastic.
I remember looking at him too. I was like, "Wow, that's so old," or like, "That's so mature."
Yeah.
And Clarth is anything. If anything, he's in the more childish half of the cast of Fantasia. But whatever. I'm gonna embrace this. I love sarcastic old man characters, so I'm just gonna embrace that phase of my life now. But
All right,
Do you like deserts and backflipping?
oh boy, neither.
love that.
Maybe
Anyway.
you know what? I do like just hanging out and being with the group and knives. So I'll be the repeat of the team.
Okay. That's fair, because it's a fair comparison. But
I really like the discussion we got into. It's that you were playing as repeat, I guess, the whole time.
yeah, exactly.
It's like, no, this is actually a journey about a dog leading a group of strangers through the world.
I do love that. So that's an addition for the
Heroically pee everywhere he possibly could.
yeah, that's an addition for
Good
the
boy.
definitive edition and the PS3 version, that you could make a special flag for everybody and where you can change who you control, but you couldn't control repeat in the Xbox
For
360
real,
version.
one of the biggest disappointments of that 360 version was exactly that.
Exactly. And the best thing about repeat is when he climbs ladders, because he full on like backflips down them and like
What,
crawl.
really?
It's so cool.
I haven't seen that yet. Oh my god.
No, have a go. If you get the chance to make the special flag S, do it. But
Okay.
let's start from the beginning, because we've got a lot to get through. We are covering the whole of Act 1 and up to Act 2, just before an area called Mount Temsa, so I'm sure that's familiar to lots of fans. Lots of stuff happens in the middle of that, so I want to go in and kind of do the same thing we did with Abyss. So we kind of focused on characters quite a lot, and I think that's a good place to start, because the first part of Vesperia, although it has a plot, it's a pretty humble beginning. It starts off with Yuri Lowell, our ex-knight protagonist, bad boy of the Tales series, flipping out of his
Fan
window with his
favorite.
dog. Fan favorite is
An
exactly.
understatement at this point, almost.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
but-
I don't remember which one of you said it, but didn't you say that during the Tales character polls, which they hold every year, Yuri was winning them so often they retired him?
Yep.
Yeah, he did. They did.
I think that's awful, man. For a man setting the gold standard, it's a shame what actually came after.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah,
'Cause,
it
like,
really stands out now.
Asbel's nice, but he's dumb as a brick.
Asbel,
Well, excuse me. Tales of RPGs can be a little bit tropey and rote with some of their very, very basic framework before you get into like the nitty gritty details of story and characters. A lot of them are spiky-haired teenagers. A lot of the conflicts are save the world from an existential threat or an environmental threat or something, and they can be a little normal seeming. But Yuri, as this badass works outside the law, straight up murders people in the dark of night character is like he's refreshing and fun in a way that I think I gasped when he kills Rago in the first time I saw that.
that really stands out to me as one of the best moments. I'm like,
It's a turning point, and
that is so good.
and the second time he
In
does
true tradition too, like I do like how they treat human deaths in that game, where it's like human enemies just collapse on the field. They don't like kapoof like the
Yeah.
monster enemies.
They don't fade out, do they? No. it's
Yeah,
good.
so they actually treat it like a serious thing.
Yeah. But yeah, no, like agreed. I was genuinely shocked when that happened, and I felt like, oh my God, really? Like all this talk was building up to that, and I
He
thought it's
gets
never gonna
dark
happen.
too. Like he says some real
Yeah.
stuff to them
Yeah.
before they go.
I mean, yeah, like we were saying, all the protagonists that followed. So like you've got Asbel, you've got Jude, you've got Core Meteor, and you've got Soray and Velvet, who's perhaps a bit too much over the other side,
Yeah,
but like all the others are
I think yeah,
definitely like
Oh gosh.
Velvet's a delightful overcorrection.
she is a delightful. Yeah. But anyway,
Delightful overcorrection is my favorite.
yeah. But yeah, no, Yuri definitely stands out, and I think you get that feeling right at the start when he is kind of gung ho about doing things and actually taking charge and
I
storming
really
into the
like that he
castle.
seems to be an adult. Like he's kind of over his issues. He doesn't really question his decisions. He's not kind of growing up. He's already grown up.
Yeah, he's been through some stuff. Did
Yeah,
anyone has anyone seen the first strike, the anime prequel?
I
I've
saw it
only
around when it was out.
Yeah,
I have not seen it, but I have seen parts of it.
yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen it. I saw it when it came out first of all. But I think that covers some things. Obviously, he's there when Rapide's owner dies and his like older puppy dies. Older puppy.
Oh.
I know it's so sad. And he goes through some stuff there, but like that is kind of how he gets to be who he is. And Vesperia was kind of the culmination of like everything he's been through. He's already had his kind of origin story, I guess, if you want to put it. And this is him doing his thing. And
The
yeah,
game's
like
really good at kind of covering that with a lot of the side quests and cutscenes.
yeah,
And
maybe too much with the side quests for some characters,
And
but we'll get to that.
this is true of Yuri for most of the story. He's mature and like firm and decisive, which is all appealing. But at the very beginning, he's like chilling out in a rented hotel room or something, and he's very listless. He doesn't really have direction or anything. Which at a level, I mean, because I played this game when I was maybe feeling similarly sometimes. I also got it's like okay, so this is a guy who's capable. Everyone knows him. They know he's a good fighter. They've you know, he has a reputation, but and not necessarily a bad reputation. But he doesn't know what to do with himself, and he's just kind of existing. And but then when the plot of Tales of Vesperia gets rolling, we like it like being forced into action brings out the best in Yuri, which I think is cool. It's like this is not a teenager that starts from nothing. This is a man who is sort of down in the dumps just temporarily, who is gets to find his purpose in this quest.
Exactly.
I,
And
I also love that there's no big moment of like, incredible hero dismay. He's always confident. I swear to
Yes.
God, it's something a lot of the heroes need. Because, yeah, he's like the least, I don't know, just the least kind of sweet in a way. And that really works. Like audiences really responded to him being mature.
yeah, he definitely has moments of doubt, but like he wavers occasionally, but like he never like in the moment he never stops himself from doing it. Like a prime example is the end of the section that we're covering when I guess I'll jump straight into it where one of the leaders of the guilds is killed and he asks Yuri to essentially be there and stand next to him and it's like stop him
Yeah, as
from
a second
doing
or
it.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, as a second.
Yeah.
And it's that moment where it's like, oh my God, like it really does go some places with Yuri. And I think as well, since we're on it, like Yuri's obviously feeling like it because he's quit the Knights and he doesn't really know what to do with himself. But then you've got Flynn, who is his best friend and his complete opposite in every
It's
single
cool,
way.
yeah, because I guess like they kind of were raised in the same house, except Flynn went out the front door and Yuri went out the back, I guess.
Exactly, yeah.
They're best friends. They're rivals. Yuri's a little bit frustrated since Flynn's kind of a golden boy who has all the talent and respect in the world, and would always beat them in their childhood games. But Flynn also is slightly jealous of Yuri because Yuri can sort of say and do what he wants in a way more that Flynn couldn't do, and. They both joined the Knights, being frustrated with the structure of the Empire and the Knights, and intending to change the Knights from the inside out, which is something. But Yuri got dissatisfied and quit, while Flynn soldiered on, as it were. And now you have them trying to change this world structure and the Knight structure with, like again, on parallel paths from Flynn as a Knight captain, or he gets promoted to captain in in Act 1 or early in Act 2, and
Yeah.
Flynn and Yuri as this vigilante or working outside the law. And I love their rivalry in this game. I love it so much because these are they're I made this same reference in multiple podcasts now, but they're a paragon and a renegade, like in Mass Effect.
It's the perfect comparison, though. Like Flynn is your typical. Flynn is very much what you'd expect a Tales protagonist to be, although he's not, because he's not naive all the time.
No,
He's
he's like a Tales protagonist in the last third of a Tales game.
yeah, exactly, which is fitting for
Where
him.
it's like, a strong, that whole throwaway, that line, that strong sense of justice, but at least he's actually puts his money where his mouth is. He's actually a very, hard worker.
Yeah. Well, Vesperia is really just all about justice, isn't it? Like, you've got the guild, you've got the knights, you've got the world order, you've got what's the right and the wrong and things, and the whole motto of one of the guilds, which we'll get to, is do justice and punish the unjust, which is Brave Vesperia's very own tagline. So it really does embody that. But I think it does it in an adult way. And something that used to annoy me about Tales of Symphonia was the fact that Tales of Symphonia was like, Dwarven Vow number 7, justice and love will always win. And I used to hate that. But like playing Vesperia kind of
to be fair, they did
contextualized.
call it out as like, oh my god,
Yeah.
as grown worthy.
They did, but like the kind of because Lloyd found it really irritating, but like Vesperia gives it that kind of adult weighting, I think, like that mature weighting that I was like I was expecting and was pretty happy with. Basically, I like the way that they balance these two characters, and we'll go through what
They do try to talk real consequences in the game.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll go. We'll kind of.
I
break them
will
out.
say, I know we're not covering it yet, but there is some diminishing returns to that
Mhm.
plot line, I find, which is a little irritating, but for the most part, for the Acts 1 and 2, they do cover it well.
Yeah, we'll definitely cover that in the next episode because I have the same problems, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty early on, Yuri finds out the Aqua Ballastia has been stolen and is flooding the lower quarter of Zaphias, which is the capital. So he goes in to the castle and tries to find the mage who has stolen it. And in kind of gets caught up in a fight between the knights and Estelle. And Estelle is trying to leave the castle to find Flynn. And again,
What did she have
Estelle.
to tell him? I never really got that. She was desperate to meet him for the entire first act. I'm not really ever sure what they talked about.
I don't know. They had a chat in the inn at Capua Nor, I think, but you never really find out about what that's about.
Well,
Like, I just assumed it's some of the corruption.
My assumption was because they were attacked by by Crazy Pants. What's his name?
Zoggy.
Yeah, they were attacked by Zagi in Flynn's room, and Zagi thought that Yuri was Flynn. So I assumed that Estelle heard.
Do we ever learn what Zagi's deal is either?
I don't know, but I assumed that someone either within the council or within the knights was trying to kill Flynn because they thought of him as a potential problem. So I think she probably heard of either a sabotage attempt or an assassination attempt, and
I think so.
and Zagi was maybe one failed part of that. That was my guess, but I don't know why they had to keep it a secret because unless something happens later that I forget.
I don't think
Yuri
so.
probably would have been a great confidant in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would have been.
Yeah,
No.
so, God, okay, so character-wise, I adore it. Plot-wise, I have so many questions. Like, I could have sworn they talk about Blastia for, like, a good hour's worth of game time. I still don't know what the hell is happening with that stuff. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Oh boy. I think we should save that maybe for the second part of the episode
Sure, yeah.
because the conflict in Act 3 is very Blastia-centric. But one thing that I think the first, say, 4 or 5 hours of the game do, Alana was alluding to this earlier, is that you have this weird world balance of the royalty and the nobles in the upper quarter and the poor people in the lower quarter, and the guild system working outside the empire, and Blastia being the game's magic technology, and which is mostly run by the knights, which are separate from the empire but defend the empire, and they're always at odds with the guilds. And then you have basically people have come to rely on the Blastia very heavily because they protect towns from an ongoing monster threat outside. And there was a war against monsters 10 years ago that is fresh in many people's minds, and that's a lot of plot and world structure going on. But the first 5 hours of the game, they feed it to you in a steady drip that felt like good pacing. Like every time you meet a new character, they're a part of one facet of this world. Like Carol's really involved in the guilds, and Estelle's a noble, and Yuri is a commoner, and
Yeah.
and Rita works at a Blastia laboratory, and so you're learning about the Vesperia world as you go to new places and meet new characters, and it stays interesting. You are always reading and learning new things about Vesperia as you play through the game, and it would be dense if they hammered it on a little too hard. But I don't know. Maybe I just like reading books because I'm generally more intrigued than less intrigued the more I hear.
Well, I think they do really well with it because it follows through with plot threads rather than like there is a kind of overarching plot to the game in that it is, as you've said, to do with Blastia and to do with the world order, but it doesn't really use that as the focal point. Like Tales of games are split into 3 acts, and this has got 3 really distinctive acts.
Mm-hmm.
So three really distinctive different stories, but there's always central themes within those that are interconnected between the 3 acts. So I think the reason it's not overwhelming is because it's quite digestible. Like I'd never really found Vesperia's story a struggle, or like any of it to really.
I think the world building is good, and the story only becomes a struggle at like the very ends of Act 2 and 3.
On the bright side, it's not for lack of explaining it. It's just kind of a
yeah,
as opposed to say Final Fantasy 13, which which needs its own dictionary.
And also, Vesperia doesn't get quite as political as Tales of the Abyss does, but the politics of the world with the throne succession and the oppressive tendencies of both the knights and the upper class, I think is pretty cool. Like it's
Yeah.
So, sometimes it's a little bit like I think it caters a little too heavily to what players want. Like it's very satisfying seeing the murder of an evil noble, and it's like okay, that's a little too French Revolution on the nose, but I like a lot of the political machinations they do in this game, even though it's not quite as crazy, ongoing war and politics heavy as Abyss. And I do like
it tends to move on from the scene pretty well.
yeah.
And I do like that they
so you're
start
off at the next point.
they stop a huge battle from taking place by a guy running into the middle of the fight on a horse holding a letter.
Yeah, which is really funny because that's all kind of semi-staged as well. Like the Don knows it's fake, but he knows as well that the whole of the guilds and the army are on the line basically because of the first act's enemy.
Yeah, like both sides sort of know it's fake, but they had to do it anyway because neither side really can back down, and it's because of Flynn running into battle and Yuri working behind the scenes that it was able to pull off successfully.
So like some good news and bad news with the first act. What was it? So yeah, the game starts with the Aqua Blastia getting stolen. You try to find some guy named Mordio. You actually find out it's a guy named Dedeki. I don't know why I like that name. So in the original game, you actually never ever resolve that plot line. You get your Aqua Blastia back, but you never really do justice, I guess, against Dedeki. So they finally added it.
Oh,
they've added a side quest.
It's a side quest. It's literally in an alleyway, so it's sort of quite literally tucked away.
But don't you?
It was not in the original one, and the way it gets resolved is Rita just throws fireballs at him.
But
she does that a lot.
Didn't you capture Dedeki in those ruins, in the water ruins early in the game?
No, he runs away.
Oh.
It's not Dedeki either. It's one of Dedeki's henchmen. So the man in the ruins, after you meet Rita, is he's just working for Dedeki, who is working for Barbos, who is the head of I forget the name of this guild every time. The Blood Alliance. Thank you. Yeah,
that's not suspicious at all.
Not at all. No, and one of the 5 master guilds as well. I mean, come on.
Wait. Before we drop Dedeki, can I still do the quest if I'm in Act 2, or is
I don't know.
I remember finishing it in Act 2, but if not, I don't think it's too hard a quest to do.
Let us bring up another point: obnoxious side quest cutoffs.
Oh yeah, there's at least 3 that I've already cut myself off from, which is annoying. But I'm not going to try and 100%.
It's bad though. It's like literally places like, hey, we have to make a run for it, but you actually have to backtrack right to the town you're escaping from, activate the side quest, or it's missable. That is
Yeah.
awful. And
There are
Tales games have a bad habit of like wrapping up some loose ends literally in these side quests.
Yeah, there are a few in particular that are quite plot important. Like you start this one off really early on. So after you leave the capital and get Estelle, and you leave to go after Flynn to Halor, if you do not go to the top of Deodan Hold, you do not get your very first cutscene with Duke, who is very important to a lot of stuff later in the game. And if you don't see that cutscene, he'll just turn up in Cave Mock like nearly at the end of Act 1, and everyone just has to pretend that they know who he is. And it's
I did get that cutscene, so
Yeah.
I was lucky there. But I know for sure I've missed out on one of Estelle's and one of Judith's best weapons, just because of, and I'm sure you guys, you probably know both of those, because of quests I've missed. So I'm determined to at least do one of those. So I'm following a guide to make sure I do all the guild quests, which seem tedious.
The Japanese coolie guide.
I think it might be, yeah. And I've been doing a
If
lot
not,
of.
I'll send you that. If dear reader or listeners, I recommend Cooley's Guide, Kouli.
Cooley does non-spoiler.
Guide on that.
Yeah, Cooley does non-spoiler guides for a lot of games' Japanese versions. So I believe I've used Cooley's guides before. But
normally I wouldn't drop this on a podcast, but again, because these cutoffs are so obnoxious, I feel it's necessary.
And plus, I mean, you and I have some affection for good old game FAQs.
Yeah.
Oh, and one of the side quests I read near the very end requires an advanced recipe. to make sure I have that recipe in time, I've been doing a lot of cooking.
Yeah, do it. It's really, really useful.
Cooking's powerful in this game. I can get 40%,
it's really good.
40% TP at the end of battle as long as I have fruit and milk and cream.
As long as you don't give it to Flynn, because Flynn is the worst cook ever. He just doesn't cook anything.
He's Arche bad levels of cook.
Arche, Natalia, he's Rain, he's all of them. But he's a guy as well.
I love anime for that, man. Like, you don't just suck at cooking, you cause explosions with eggs.
I know.
Explosions.
I think there is. I mean, I was looking at a recipe guide earlier, so I was aware of that a little bit, even though Flynn hasn't joined me permanently yet. But I think they mentioned that 1 or 2 recipes require Flynn to cook something else, and they end in parentheses said this will take a while. Flynn is the worst cook ever.
Did an entire dungeon. So I guess we'll jump a little bit further along. So, I mean, we haven't talked about Carol and Rita yet, who joined fairly early on. The nice thing about Vesperia is you get a full party really, really quickly, like Abyss in a way. And they kind of
for one of the hardest bosses in the game.
Oh boy, we're about to get to him. Yeah.
Yeah, we're almost there. But you're right. You have 4 people in like 90 minutes.
Yeah. And they all fulfill different functions as well, which is really good. So you've already got your main attacker, you've got a quick attacker, you've got an extra heavy but slow attacker, and then you've got your 2 mages fulfilled. So, I mean, I kind of adore Rita, just as an aside. Like, I'm more sympathetic to Carol than most people as well. I know Mike doesn't like Carol very much.
I don't like spunky children most of the time, and
so cute.
And Carol is sort of extra cute and extra spunky, and sometimes I like him. Like I think it's cute the way he admires Don Whitehorse so much.
Mm-hmm.
He's like
I like that he's really he balances out. He's a really smart kid. He's a total scaredy cat, but he's got a big ol' heart, and he's always just trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, he's
even if his bravery doesn't really match up for the task at hand.
Yeah, he's like a 12-year-old kid, and he goes through some real tough moments in this game, and you think to yourself, if I was him, there's no way.
Too.
Exactly, he's got no parents, he's been kicked out of every guild, but he goes through some really big development as well, and I think maybe one of the biggest arcs and one of the most important arcs in the game, because he is the one who forms Brave Vesperia. But I do get that he can be really annoying, and I do love the kind of mocking tone that Yuri takes with him really early on, and I will always remember the "prepare to die, Egg Bear" cutscene where he like sneaks up behind him and does that in Hello. But
teases the hell out of him. I love it.
Yeah, I do love that.
You can tell he loves him too, because he's always talking with him and does not mind traveling.
If anyone abuses him, it's probably Rita though.
Yeah,
she's quite violent with him.
She is, yeah. She's very, very much she's not very social, and she shows it, but she's also very blunt, demanding, knows what she wants. And even Estelle points it out really early on in the Shaikos ruins, and that Estelle's like, do you not ever hesitate? And Rita's like, well, why would I? And that's kind of Rita in a nutshell. She just does whatever the hell she wants. And
but she also cares more and more about Estelle as the game goes on, and you really see her sort of learning empathy and caring for others in a way that's almost weird. But I mean, from just from observing Rita for the first part of the game,
I think that's sort of like imply that that's like her first real friend.
Yeah,
I know
potentially
fandom likes
more.
going a bit
it's
more
also
with that,
it's
and
also
I
Estelle's
totally-
it's also Estelle's first real friend. She says, I'm glad that I can have a friend that's my own age, because they're like I think one of them's 17, one of them's 15 or something, and the way that they treat their first friend differently, how Rita does not understand how friends work and then she ends up caring for Estelle a whole lot, and Estelle's just always so excited and so kind-hearted and positive.
Mm-hmm. She
I
starts
do like
off
the sort of high five gimmick that all of them seem to go through.
with Estelle.
It's like Estelle doesn't know how to do it at first, and then she starts giving everybody one.
And then repeats with his tail.
With his tail. I like Carol's where he jumps up to hit Yuri's and he hurts him.
Yeah, this game has
because he's that spunky, I guess.
Well, Carol has stubby little arms, but he also wields gigantic swords, axes, and hammers. So they must be some tree trunk stubby little arms.
Yeah.
I'm totally gonna go art mode right now, but I do love the design of like all the characters too.
Yeah, I think these are some of Fujishima's best. I agree.
Yeah, like color-wise, I do. It's a little on the nose, but I do like the whole Yuri's, coated in black, and Finn's literally a white knight. But like I even like how Estelle looks like a flower. Like
they all have sort of
like
a different color theme. So and if you know me, there's one thing I love. It's a team of heroes with different multicolored themes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you notice like a bunch of the guild people are kind of animal motifed?
Yeah,
the ones
in
the hunting blades. A lot of them have like rhino masks and like wild boar masks and stuff. Yeah.
Like Nan kind of looks like a bird. She's got a few feathery things. Her circular thing has like a quote unquote beak on it. Jaeger looks like a shark, and he's got like these kind of sharp edges, and sort of like a ripply sweater that looks like fins.
Yeah,
I think the guy with the hoodie that's in the hunting blades is kind of like a lizard or a gecko. The way he can sort of the way he can sort of like slither up walls, and the way he fights with his hands almost formed into claws.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't really understand what Duke's motif is. It's just wild looking.
I have
like
white hair.
Albino Yuri.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Duke's a conundrum. We'll get to him for definite. Maybe more next episode. But yeah, he just kind of pops up and goes and is like mysterious man, woo, and with really deep, sexy voice. And I'm just like, all right, you can keep coming along. Like, I'm happy with you talking to me. But anyway, since we've already hinted at the boss, so we've done a couple of dungeons. So the beginning of the game kind of eases you into all of the systems and stuff like that. And I will get into the battle system in a minute. But we alluded to this on our favorite Tales of games, but there is a boss in a place called Emid Hill. So the first part of the game, you're chasing after Flynn, and you're going to Cap Nor.
It's and maybe the third boss in the game. It's super early.
It's ridiculous. And even this time I knew it was coming, and I died like 3 times on the first time I played the definitive edition.
It's like a Kutuo or something like that. I forgot its exact name. But that boss is so hard. And then they want you to do the stupid secret challenge, and it is incredibly difficult.
Yeah, every boss fight in the game is a secret challenge, which is a task that the player does not know of unless you check a guide. But it gives you
every boss fight is also easier than this one.
Yeah,
even the last one is easier. I swear to God, than this fight.
There are harder secret missions, but this is the hardest boss because it just tanks for damage. Like, it can kill you in 2 hits.
And it has 2 minion buddies, and you can get randomly stunned by a flower if you accidentally attack one nearby. There's a lot going on, and the boss is way too strong already.
It's also the point of the game. This is also point of the game. Like, the game kind of eases you into the battle system. It gets super good Act 2 and on, but it's a little bit sort of janky, even kind of purposefully, just while you get more skills that kind of help you build your repertoire.
And the worst part of all, though,
very well.
To add insult to injury, after you beat him, and it'll take you 4 or 5 tries, Carol's like, oh, that was easy.
Oh, God, every time that happens, I'm like, are you kidding?
Wound.
Salty, yeah, for definite. Save afterwards, like, immediately. I'm like, oh, no, I was not happy about that. And
there's no other surprises in Emid Hill that would, probably, unless you get, really hosed by a back attack or something. But yeah, that is a really unreasonable difficulty spike.
But yeah, also the other thing I hate about really hard bosses like that is they have no purpose in the plot. If it was Duke or somebody who was ridiculously hard, I might take it. But it's just some rando enemy that turns up and is like, oh no, it's defending its territory. No other reference to it ever again.
Yeah,
Like, why would
this
you do that?
this big wolf was one of the monsters that attacked the town earlier. Let's fight it. That was it.
Yeah, it is horrible. But then in the next town over, you get to see kind of the real horrors of the army and of the empire. And Caponora is a pretty grim place. You have to go in. There's a family being attacked by some of Rigaud's men, who we've already hinted at, and you have to go and kill or take the horn off of a monster to go and see the magistrate Rigaud. And this is your first glimpse of Raven and also the new character for the definitive edition and for the PS3 version, Patty Fleur.
Yay!
Yeah, I love her. I would defend her.
Patty Fleur's pretty great.
She is pretty awesome.
Her attacks are hilarious too. Just
yeah, what is she?
she's-
She's like frying pan pirate, dice master, card woman. I'm like, what are you doing? Like,
she just has an like an endless number of
Frying pan
items in her
pirate.
coat. It's like maybe she should have a giant bag of tricks instead of Carol.
yeah,
I think she's fun to use. Like I don't totally get her moveset, and I always use a more straightforward character like Yuri or Rapide. But having her in the party, just throwing hammers and anvils or whatever at people is, you do you. Patty
she is
Fleur.
I actually really
delightful.
love her design too. It's quite darling.
It's classic.
Yeah.
Classic cute pirate. I like the way that I love the way that everyone assumes that Patty at the beginning is like Yuri's child. I'm pretty sure Patty's older than Carol. I mean, at least physically. But I have no
I figured
idea.
that her and Carol are about the same age. Aren't they both like 12?
I think she's about 13, but yeah,
Okay.
it's pretty much the same age, isn't it?
She's
but-
definitely old enough to be madly in love with Yuri, that's for sure.
Who
yeah,
wouldn't?
exactly.
Okay, fair.
But yeah, I will get to Patty a little bit more later on, but she does feel a bit disappointing in terms of story, which is obviously going to be difficult because she was basically inserted into the
Literally tacked
PS3.
on.
Yeah, and she is literally tacked on, but she does give the pirate ship Ghost Dungeon an actual purpose, which made me laugh. I was like, oh, we're going here for a reason now? Like, great.
And they
Yeah,
make
it's true, because before it was just, it's another ghost ship segment. Cool.
Yeah.
and she's the permanent pilot of your ship for when you have a ship instead of having a rental from the Fortune's Market Guild, which is yes, this is a role on the team that we probably need.
It is, but it's Tokunaga. The guy who used to sail your ship is called Tokunaga.
Which is just like Anis's doll.
Yeah.
I never got that. I never got that connection. I didn't know why they were both Tokunaga, but here we are.
Yeah.
Story-wise, it's kind of weird that, like, literally she just kind of inserts her opinion, just literally with one line of dialogue to kind of help beef up her presence.
She always has these adorable, like, boat or fish puns, though, so I'm always pretty happy when she opens her mouth. I'm just like, this is better than a Dead Sea fish or whatever, and I'm like, I don't really... Okay, I'll listen to... But yeah, she does feel a little bit forced, and she does have her moments later on, and say that she has some connections to the guilds. But Rigaud's mansion is kind of the first time you get a sense of the Empire not being all that it is, and you do meet Flynn at this point as well. So this is the first time you actually see Guy Cecil's clone in this game, who I feel he's just as attractive as him, though.
They do set Finn up really well. Like, you kind of feel like you know him, but by the time you see him.
Oh yeah, you'd know exactly the minute he turns up. You're like, oh, this is the guy we're after. Yeah, and he feels right at home.
The cutscene with fighting the thugs in the alley, and then they do a double demon fang at the end is great.
BFFs.
Yep, you can tell they fought together. And then this is the kind of back at Amid Hill, you saw like a destroyed blaster with a strange code, and then this is the second time you see one. But this is also the first time you meet the Dragon Rider, or the Dragon Freak, as Rita calls her. But yeah, she becomes important later on. But
I mean,
this
we can say it. Near the end of Act 1, the armor breaks, and it's a very stunning young lady named Judith.
Oh yeah, I have a soft spot for Judy.
Or not to. Yeah, she, like... Again, with how they kind of avert typical tropes, I guess. I always compliment how Sheena's demure and sexy, and Judith is just super confident and nonchalant and doesn't really
Yeah.
care.
She does not care at all, does she? She's so proud of it, and she's like not afraid to hide anything. And she's also
Yeah.
really playful with the rest of the cast. Like she's really flirty. She kind of keeps Raven
At,
happy by like letting him flirt with her, and she like kind of teases him and leads him on a little bit. And
Just a bit,
she'll
just an inch.
she'll shut him down very firmly. But yeah,
She gives him an inch and then she stomps all over him for sure.
Yeah.
It's cool that they actually made an aerial juggler.
Yeah, really. Her AI is terrible, but like
Yeah.
she's
Oh,
really fun to play as if you can master her. She does take a bit of practice, but it's the first time they've really gone for that, and I don't really think they've done it again as well as her, which is a
Eleanor
real shame.
in Berseria is a little bit like her.
Yeah, she's a bit more ground based, I found. I found her a lot easier to get used to than Judy. But yeah, this series, Alicia as well was a bit more ground based, even more so than Eleanor from Zestiria, but you don't really get to play as her for long enough, so you don't really get enough time.
I wish I had played this game, but the Tales of Destiny remake does focus on air combos a lot. So and Stan, even in the original Tales of Destiny, was the first person to use that that spinning flying sword attack that makes him look like a
Oh,
buzzsaw.
Tempest.
Yeah,
Tempest,
Like
yeah.
Tempest is like his signature move. So
I love that move.
in the Tales of Destiny remake, like everyone's tempesting all over the place, and and that was the first game that felt like, extremely juggle heavy. And going on with that, Judith was the first sort of dedicated I'm the air character, and Alicia and Eleanor going forward are sort of those characters. It's a different way of playing the game, but if you can really master it, it's super fun. I cannot master it. It's hard. It's hard for me. I'm not. I prefer just chaining combos to different combos, and so I usually stick with swordy characters, and I'll maybe I'll usually learn one non-swordsman in a Tales game. Like I really like using Eisen and Berseria and
Yeah, he was fun.
Me too.
and Regal and Symphonia. But back to Judith. I sort of like how her and Yuri are similar in that they're very sort of calm, confident, matter of fact when it comes to sort of discussing what they're going to do next.
Yeah, Judy even more so. Like she's sometimes just willing to like beat the crap out of anybody, and Yuri's like, whoa, 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 hang on a minute, and it's like, hang on a minute, there's someone more gung ho than Yuri in the party. Like really?
And I also like when Carol forms Brave Vesperia. Technically, the only other guild members are Yuri, Judith, and Rapide. And and like Carol's and sort of Yuri makes fun of Carol, calling him Captain Carol, but ostensibly sort of Carol's in charge, and Judith and Yuri are
Carol's
the older.
in charge.
Yeah. Carol's in charge of our days. All right, anyway, I apologize for that. Yeah, a joke
the
for
old men here.
Yeah, for the lovers of 80s American sitcoms. But yeah, like sort of Judy and Yuri are like the older brother and sister for Carol, and they do it in a. I just sort of like Yuri and Judith's interactions. I do.
They're all really good. Like they all got okay. This is kind of lead me to one of my beefs, but they all have really great chemistry. And I did beef this time with some of the keep trying to break the band up. It's like, what do you want to do? It's like, just decide. It's fine. Like we're in this together. And they're all kind of like, we'll see when we get there. Hey, can I tag along with you? It's like, oh God, just get to it. Yes, we're
Yeah.
buddies. We've traveled the world.
Yeah, there's a few instances of that.
And Act 2 is a
and
little.
like some of Estelle's lollygagging about like what she wants to do, it didn't make much sense to me. I was like,
After
you
a
seem pretty
while,
sure what you want.
like the first couple of times, yeah, and I think it was when Judy starts going like, well, what is Brave Vesperia to you? Are they just your like pawns? Or they just do whatever you want them to do? And then she's like,
Yeah.
no, that was like the bit where I feel like it should have stopped. But like, yeah, she does drag it out a little bit right into
We
the
are
second
Tales
continent.
of Brave Vesperia. We stick together, and I kind of wish they realized that a little bit earlier because.
But Estelle's not in Brave as Vesperia. She's their client, and the thing.
They need her as much as they need them.
Yeah,
or she
they
needs
they
them.
also keep accusing
I'm not
her
using
of changing her mind and following whims, and then she has to learn, hey, you can't always just do what you want without consequences, and they're trying to teach her that a little bit, and I think it mostly works, and then hits a bit of a dark moment when she heals something she shouldn't be healing.
Hmm.
Because her instinct is always to immediately heal anything that is hurt, injured, that's in front of her.
For the most part, though, I mean, she seems to know where the loyalties go. I mean, she didn't really bat an eye that two of her council members a council member and a high-ranking knight were friggin' assassinated by one of her teammates.
I know, right? She had one
She's just like,
moment.
well, you probably did it for a good reason.
I think she just trusts Yuri that much. She
Yeah.
knows
Yeah.
she knew they were bad. She was paralyzed as what to do with them at the time, and then later when she learns that Yuri kills Rago and sees him kill Kumor, or I don't know if she saw him or like learned immediately after or something.
Yeah.
She's like, this is Yuri. I trust Yuri. I know he wants to do the right thing. I know these guys were bad guys, and I think she sort of accepts that she's okay with it more easily than Flynn does, at least.
Hmm. She does.
Yeah.
But I guess that she's like the observer in that if it hadn't happened, I think we'd be really annoyed playing it, that nobody died and nobody got any consequence out of it. Because I've definitely played games where I've gone, I want this person to be killed or something, and they just get away scot-free. So, I mean, it's not excusable.
Yeah, the game really put its money where its mouth is on that respect.
It really
Yeah.
does. But I guess we're kind of approaching the end of Act One. I mean, we have Raven to talk about still, but we have the the section around Heliord and around Cairbockram, which kind of feel like a bit like interludes. Heliord becomes important later on.
I love the
but
look of that city too. Well,
Yeah.
besides the tragic underbelly, but yeah, the giant waterfall is so pretty and the music's
But-
just delightful.
Care
go
Bachram
back-
doesn't introduce a monster that becomes important later, and
Yes,
teaches
it
you
does.
a little bit about the hunting blades, who get more prominent later. But
Yeah.
I agree that Care Bachram and maybe Cave Mock and Heliord more feel like stops rather than destinations.
Yeah, I mean, they introduce you to important things like Cave Mock is the first instance where you see an air crane, and it's the first time if you don't do the cutscenes where you see the side quest where you see Duke. Heliord as well also introduces you to Alexei, who is the commandant of the Knights and becomes a pretty big player later on. But he's kind of invisible for the first part of this game and for a large part of the game in general. Like he's just a name that people bat around.
We're gonna save this for the second episode, of course. But when he becomes more prominent quickly in the second half of the game, it was a big surprise to me. It's like, oh, this guy, kind of a deal. And also, I think the first time I played it, I didn't realize him and Duke were separate characters. At least briefly, because they have armor of similar color and shiny silver hair.
Yeah, both white.
Very
hair.
cool flips on it.
Yeah, and very deep voices.
I just get confused in a Tales game if two characters have the same color hair, unless they're obviously different, like Genus and Rain or something.
Yeah. But Raven, we've already met him a couple of times before. We've met him at Cap Nor. You meet him at the next port town. You also meet him in various different places, and then he joins you at Cave Mock. But he's an important member of the head of the Five Master Guilds at Darngrest, Oltosk, and I kind of love Raven a bit. He's so
I think
goofy.
I feel the same as you. I kind of love him, but I also kind of don't.
Yeah. I think he gets some really good mileage later on, and again, this is something we'll go into next episode. But like, he's the zealous of the party, but I feel like he has a lot of fun. He's kind of the goof, and I kind of let him get away with stuff because he's a bit of an idiot, and because he just like Rita also gets to hit him like all the time, which is great.
He's this game's version of character who knows more than he lets on.
Oh god, it's so obvious.
Yeah, he's an extreme version of that, if anything.
But Oltosk is a really, really cool guild, and Darngrest is a really cool city, and probably my favorite in the entire game. And Don Whitehorse is so cool. Like, you can totally get why Carol admires and adores him. Like, you've got this big, beefy white.
The dude really works with his short screen time.
He really does, and you get this sense like Yuri immediately respects him, and nicely in the PS3 version, in the definitive edition, it adds a fight between Yuri and the Don that you can't win on a first playthrough. You can only win it if you do like the times 10 experience points and are like level 60. But it's so cool, and the fight really rams home that like Yuri could be the Don. Like in 20-40 years time, Yuri kind of feels like he would evolve into that kind of figurehead.
I would kill for a sequel for Vesperia. I think it could be one of those games that's really interesting to revisit.
It would be, especially given what happens after the end of the game and how
Yeah.
that goes. I don't know whether I trust them because every sequel I
Yeah.
kind of hated, but yeah.
Wait, what's the least offensive of the sequels? I mean, probably
Exilia
Destiny
2.
2.
Oh,
Destiny 2 possibly I haven't played it, but
Right.
Exilia 2 is probably the least offensive of the two I have played.
Okay.
Although no, actually, no, I was going to talk about Fantasia, but it
Oh,
wasn't.
right.
It came first.
Okay, so
Even
I try to play the games while I'm doing the podcast. Usually it helps me kind of talk about it. I love Repeat whenever he fails to steal something, he just scratches himself.
yes, actually, that's a good time to jump into the battle system because it's not really anything we've dug into yet, and
Mhm.
this is really. I think it's probably the best TP system in the series. Like Exilia is a little bit more fluid, but it's got a really annoying gimmick that hinders it in two-player mode and that you have to link to other characters to get your best moves. But Vesperia, as Steph said, it starts off quite slow and clunky, but as you learn more systems, you get really, really good and it gets really deep. And there is a really intense combo system, there's a really intense skill system. I really love it, and I think I really like Fatal Strikes, which you learn about halfway through
Yeah, those are
Act
fun.
1. Yeah, they're so cool to pull off. Like any normal enemy, you can kill in one hit. The idea with bosses is to try and chain them so you get better hits and
So
damage.
have you guys noticed as well that you can't really bring on a fatal strike? Like if you keep doing like an attack that causes it, it will
Yeah.
like, and just an attack, it has to be comboed in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think I've noticed that as well.
So I've done that before. I'm like doing like, you know, like Demon Fang, and it's to kind of get it there, but it won't happen ever. And
But yeah, it's a really perfect evolution of Abyss because Abyss's free running was
Abyss is
so
broken.
broken
yeah.
that this penalizes you. And one common complaint, and I did notice it, is there's a lot of lag animation with a lot of attacks, guarding, arts, because Yuri likes to be really stylish and flip his axes over his back.
Yeah.
It looks so cool. You can like free run and cancel it if you're playing manually, but it does take a bit of practice to do.
Yeah, I usually try to cancel things with guard, so
Yeah.
I won't get caught in an animation, and that helps sometimes. But sometimes I won't finish my arcane art if I aggressively mash the guard cancel. But there's
Yeah.
like you said, Alana, I think this is maybe the best version of a TP-based battle system that Tales has. It's a more refined version of what Abyss did, and it has, characters that can do the combo basic arcane mystic system, but there's also the skill system can give you a lot of extra tricks. You can
Yeah.
change some of your arts if you equip certain skills. Everyone has attacks of multiple elements. Because characters can do different roles and different damage types, you can make almost any party that you want.
Yeah, really
Yeah, they're
right.
all good.
And the
Everyone's
characters
got
feel-
some sort of healing.
And they feel different too. It's I don't think of because going back to Symphonia, it's like Zelos and Kratos are pretty similar, and and sometimes characters with swords even just feel a little too similar to each other. But in this one, I don't think any of the characters feel like controlling just another one of the same.
Yeah, Yuri and Flynn have some similar moves, but they do feel differently. Like Yuri's definitely more flamboyant in the way he attacks, and they both have a couple of similar moves. So they both have Dragon Swarm, and like Yuri's is definitely more
Well, that Yuri
swirly.
can basically do his own 15-hit combo.
Yeah, I know. And then like Flynn is a little bit more standard tail swordsman, which is really fun. Then Rapide as well, who also shares some moves with Yuri with some more dog flair. Demon Dog is my favorite. I
Yeah.
love it. And he also has Light Spear and Hellpire and things. So he has some of the similar like traditional tail swordsman moves, but he's also really quick, and like even the characters that are really similar definitely have a different feel to them. And even like archers, like Natalia in Abyss is a standard archer. Raven is not. Raven is really strange to play as. Like he can do short range attacks with knives and then long ranged attacks. A lot of his arts are trap moves and are designed to
And
kind
he,
of
and
trip
he has
the enemy
wind
up.
spells.
Yeah, he's really good as a support mage, and actually I use him over Rita a lot of the time, but that's just kind of preference. But yeah, like everyone feels really different, and for like with Abyss, I stuck to one party most of the time. Your first four characters are your best four characters in Abyss.
Yeah,
This
totally.
game, you can use everybody in different situations, and you are forced to as well in a lot of situations. So it's fun. I really, really dig it. But the skill system, and you've alluded to it, is really similar to Final Fantasy IX, which I love. So you learn skills off of weapons. There are so many skills and so many weapons. I'm trying to get all the skills, and every repeat in particular is a bugbear. So there's a whole synthesis system in this game, and it's much easier to manage than Zesteria's or Besseria's equipment management system.
In Berseria, you'll get a new piece of equipment, and it'll say 500 points to level up, and I'll just be like, oh man, why am I playing this game? And with this one, you learn skills more quickly, but there's just so many of them and so many weapons.
Yeah, like Rapide's knives, every single one has an alpha and a beta version, and then it's got a +1 and a +2 version, and then it's got like an alpha and a beta of the +1 version, and I'm just like, how many times do I need to buy the same knife just so I get every skill? It's kind of frustrating, but I do like the skill system. I think it's really, really fun and easy to pick up as well. It doesn't feel like a chore, personally, because Final Fantasy IX skill system is one of my favorites, and this is basically the same as that, so... Yeah, altered arts are fun as well. I really like learning them. They can be a bit tedious, but they're worth it, some of them.
By the end, you get some really good skills that just make combat a joy, basically. And I do love just generally how fast-paced it is, and there's always like great attack options, and you can slip between characters as much as you want, and they all play very weird. And generally, it's a lot of fun. Like even Estelle, like she's a bit of a tank healer, so she's actually not even too bad to take on as well.
She does not die very often. She can take some hits, which is so useful.
Yeah, I love having a healer that can take a hit. Like, a healer that has a shield and high defense and doesn't put herself in danger like crazy.
Yeah.
God, I wish there were more RPG healers like Estelle.
I will say her AI is so much better in this version than the Xbox version. It was dreadful. She would run out and attack and everything, but you can really, really see the difference. To the point where she almost overheals. Like, the only criticism I have of Estelle is that sometimes Yuri will be the only one who's taken damage, and it'll only be like 500, and she'll use Revitalize, and I'm like, come on, like, you've got so much TP, you could just use first aid or something. But she does get some really good skills, and she's a lot of fun, and she has some light magic as well. But her sword skills are also pretty good, and she's
I do wish they put more options to recovering TP. Like I like the Tales games always have it that every attack, like normal basic attack you combo in, you get 1 extra TP. I wish after a while it'd give you 2.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, skills just start costing more and more and more, and when one of them costs 20 TP and you're just dealing dinky little ones, I don't know. Like, I wish there was more to kind of keep track of TP for how much it relies on it.
Yeah, there are a couple of skills you can equip that help with that. So there's one where if you do like a 10-hit combo, you start recovering 2 per hit, which is really, really useful. But it still shows, because you get like skills that cost 20 TP on Yuri when he's like level 25, and he's only got like 150 to 200 TP at this point. And
it was around then when I started relying on eating sorbets and puddings after every single battle. Or every couple battles.
This game's not light on orange gels though either. You get one nearly every couple of fights, so it's fairly generous, and I do like the auto item system as well. That's good. And I like the fact you can toggle it to cancel them using it or allow them to use it. Because I hate letting them use everything. I'd rather like manage it myself. But yeah, Vesperia's combat only really gets better. And by like the second half of the game in particular, when you've got all those altered arts and you can combo like basic arts with every single art in any order, it gets so fun, especially with some of those super bosses, which we might touch on. But yeah, the end of Act 1 kind of draws to a close with Barbas, who is the head of the Blood Alliance, who we've already alluded to. We saw him at Rigaud's mansion, and well, I mean, what a piece of work, I guess. But he does seem kind of undercooked. Like, you build him up to be like this massive evil bad guy, and I think this is one general weakness in Vesperia, is that it doesn't really do its bad guys any justice at all. It doesn't really give them any screen time at all. Like, Barbos is probably on the screen for less than half an hour, and like you only hear his name halfway through Act 1, and you're chasing after this guy who's got the aquablaster, and then all of a sudden it's just this big guy with one arm, and he flies through the sky on this arm. The first time that happened, I was like, where are you going? Like, what? And then Judy comes along, and you know, it's all gone. But yeah, Act 1, I like the end of Act 1. I think it's a good ending point for that particular arc, and it's kind of, you kind of feel like
I liked the unusual irony of him recognizing right before the fight, hey, That's the Aquablastia I've been looking for this whole time. Is in his sword.
Oh, yeah. But he does get it back eventually, which is good. And there are some interesting things. I like the way there's a running theme through the game in that lots of characters who die tell Yuri they're going to see him in hell in different ways. Like the Don does it as well later on. And Yuri was just like, are you kidding? Like, I mean, Yuri's done some bad stuff anyway, but yeah. But yeah, I like the end of Act 1 kind of, but you know it's not going to be the end. You feel like it's the end of the arc, but it's not the end of the story. And pretty quickly into Act 2, Dahngrest is attacked by a huge flying monster, destroys a bridge, and calls Estelle an insipid poison. And that kind of kickstarts the second act, which is pretty intense with its kind of themes, and it really starts going somewhere. And I kind of feel like this is the strongest point of the game, is this middle arc in terms of story.
Yeah,
and
they're done introducing
100%.
the world, and they're now ready to sort of work within the world that they've built, and it's it's a lot of good drama. Estelle's indecision on what she wants to do, notwithstanding, because
yeah,
she's not a very good client to work with.
The
yes.
thing I like is like anytime Flynn joins the story. Okay, so like Flynn's walking around in his beautiful night gear. Whenever he joins my party, though, he's wearing his stupid Chopin outfit. All right, guys, my civilian clothes are on. Let's go.
Yeah, so whenever you put him in that outfit, like he stays in it for the entire time. And there's a bit where he comes out of a tent, and then Yuri goes, "Oh, your outfit? Are you a captain now?" And I'm just like, he's wearing Chopin's outfit still. I'm just like, Captain Chopin of the Chopin Brigade, man. Like,
Chopin Brigade.
Exactly.
They play music. It's nice.
But yeah, Brave Vesperia is formed pretty early on, and there's some diversions in Heliord, and this is the first time you meet Jaeger, who we've already alluded to, which is one of the guilds from Dahngrest. He heads up Leviathan's Claw, and Jaeger's really unusual, and he feels like he doesn't fit in a lot of the time with his suit. He's suited and booted. He's got like a bayonet with a huge knife on the end of it, and it explodes. But they basically do illegal blastier dealing and weapons dealing. But Jaeger's an amusing character.
I love good old German accent by Shinji Ikari.
Yeah.
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 I've been playing the game in Japanese mostly because I just was curious about it, and Jaeger throws in a lot of weird English. Is his gimmick?
Yes.
He played there.
Yeah, he does throw in British phrases, doesn't he?
Yeah, he responds to something that Kumor tells him with "Of course," which I was very amused by.
That makes me hyper conscious because I know I do that all the time as well. But yeah, Jaeger does not fit in necessarily, and he kind of comes and goes. Like, there are a couple of moments where he is on your side, but he's then against you, and again, he's got relevance, but it's more in side quests. Like, he's just working for the big bad, but there is an entire side quest which concludes in the second half of the game, which makes him
seems to have like multiple allegiances or plots going on. Like,
yeah, I mean, he's
very much a moving piece storyline.
Yeah, he's really respectful. Like, he really respects the Don, but at the same time recognizes that as Don Whitehorse's head of Ultosk and head of Dahngrest, he is in his way and he will do anything, but he does it within reason. So I find him really interesting, if undercooked. He pops up a few times, most notably at Nordopolica, which is the Colosseum city, which is the third continent where we haven't explored, as a different person. And I feel like a total idiot for not knowing that Reggae is Jaeger, which is literally Jaeger spelt backwards. So Ruin's Gate is an interesting
the whole
diversion.
Raven reveal actually threw me off too.
I have to wonder though, because is Jaeger Reggae really the person who runs both guilds, or is Reggae a separate person who runs an innocent Ruin's Gate?
I'm hoping. I can't remember. I'm sure there is a side quest with this, but I'm pretty sure it answers that it was the same person. It was Jaeger Reggae, but okay, I will get into it.
All right, so Ruin's Gate was not an innocent archaeological operation. They were weapons dealers as well, but their weapons dealing arm was Leviathan's Claw.
Yeah, and there's a side quest that Rita catches a bunch of them in Shaikos ruins, and they're writing their names on the Blastier, and she like sits them down and lectures them about that's not how you treat Blastier. This is how you treat Blastier, and then you bump into them again in Nordopolica later on, and they're kind of groveling to her because they recognize who she is. But yeah, Nordopolica is a really fun city and the typical Colosseum city in this game.
Oh my god, I love the cities in this game.
Yeah.
I like a lot of them too. I really like Dahngrest and Nordopolica. I think I want to try to at least do some of the later Colosseum quests in this game because I think some of them have pretty good rewards.
They do, yeah. It's
yeah, you
actually,
fight Tails villains actually, right?
I think
Usually,
Tails
at
villain.
at
yeah,
least one of them will.
usually. I know that the one of the secret dungeons is a Tails villain, or not a villain. Well, yes, a villain, depending on what option you take in that game.
Hint, hint. Ha! Sorry.
But yeah, so you get to fight. You have to go through the Colosseum. You go to meet the Duce of Palestrale, which is Bellius, on the Duke's request, which is why Raven's with you at this point. But you can't meet her until there's a full moon, so you have to come back. But you get embroiled in this idea that Nordopolica is going to be overthrown by some evil person. So Yuri enters the Colosseum and fights Flynn at the end of it in a very cool, very cutscene heavy fight where you have to survive for a while.
Is there any reason for the full moon thing?
I think it's to do with the fact that so maybe we should go into what I feel is the most Tales of word ever. Enterlakeia, spelt with an X, because of course.
That has more
Can't
vowels
ask me to
than
spell it, oh my god.
more vowels than consonants.
And an X, which is yeah.
Like intellectia or something like that, right? Phonetically?
Yes, yeah, that's how you'd yes, but that's how it's spelt. But yeah, I think it's to do with the fact that she is a Enterlakeia, but they never really address it. Again, it might be something I need to dig into.
And the Enterlakeia were the dragon-like monsters that the humans of the world had a war against 10 years ago. But some
humans.
But some, or I think it was the Empire and guilds working together or something. But it was.
Damn it, Empire.
Yeah, but some Enterlakeia were allies with the humans and helped each other, and some humans and Enterlakeia have lifelong friendships. But the Enterlakeia are ancient and built a lot of the ruins that you're exploring, including the original Nordopolica Colosseum. So it's crazy. They get deeper into the Enterlakeia mythology in later parts of the game, but I think the gist of it is that they're an ancient race of dragon-like powerful things. They are intelligent and can speak, and when they die, they form a crystal called Apatheia, and Apatheia have a lot of super magical properties.
Extremely relevant. Yeah, they can take different forms as well. So there's a couple of dragons. Bellius is like a fox, kind of.
It's like a fox.
It's a bit of everything. Like every mammal you can think of. That's Bellius.
What are those creatures that are half horse and half human?
Centaur?
Yeah, she's like a fox centaur.
Pretty much.
The one that you met in Kaer Bakram almost looked like a rhino or an elephant.
Yes, Gusios, who turns up later, as we said. And then you've got Pharaoh as well, who is a bird. But there are a couple of different ones, and you get to meet a few of them over the course of the game. Again, more in the second half. But yeah, Bellius is really cool. And Ruin's Gate or Leviathan's Claw or Jaeger or Brigay or whoever has put Flynn and Yuri against each other deliberately.
Damn it, Jaeger!
Damn it, everybody.
Everybody.
Damn it, everybody in this game. But yeah, so then you have to leave. And monsters break out, and I think the Hunting Blades eventually get involved, and we'll get to that section. So you end up going to the desert because the main reason you've come to the continent is to meet Pharaoh, because that is what Estelle really, really wants to do, apparently. That's what she's convinced herself to do.
Estelle is poison. She's this nice, pretty little princess, and she is the Deathbringer, apparently.
They do hint at it later on.
Why would she do that? Look at her. You can judge a book by her cover, and she would probably like that book. Like
I don't think that's how the expression goes.
I do love her bookish nature, though. She can literally recite anything, and it's just.
I do like the little detail that text boxes go square when she starts paraphrasing the book.
I love that. She is. But then you go for the Weezand of Kados. Patty turns up again. She permanently joins you at this. She permanently joins you very shortly afterwards. So then you get to Mantake, where you find out that this town is overtaken by knights. And you don't think that they're going to be on that continent, although Flynn's already shown up once. And then you go to the Sands of Kogor. I hate the Sands of Kogor. Like, I hate this place so much.
It was maybe my least favorite part of the game, other than fighting Gatsuo or Gattuso.
Yeah, it's so painful. It wasn't too bad this time around, but it's just... why do RPGs do terrible desert dungeons? Like, it's not the
They do it on
worst.
purpose now. Like, it's just like,
Yeah, they do.
Here's
So
a desert. Here's a sewer. Go
so the
move bricks around.
They
so the
or they can do
pain
the Diablo 3 move where they have the desert and the sewer in the same place, and they both
amazing. Wow. Why
you
not?
you take the
Why
sewer to
not?
go from the desert to a different desert. I wish I was kidding.
Backtracking slightly, how funny is it that the additional mandatory dungeon in Vesperia is a sewer? Like,
Oh my god, yeah, that and literally what happened in the old game was you just literally walked to the other side of town and that was it. But this time they threw in a dungeon that is sewer. It's fortunately not too painful. I did
it's
get lost about twice, but it was still done pretty quick.
yeah, it's pretty short, isn't it? And the
Yeah.
mechanics of it aren't too bad. But yeah, the main gimmick here in the Sands of Kogor is that the place turns to day and night, and you have a water meter, and you have to keep refilling them. And those cacti do not fill up your water gauge at all, apart from the really big ones. And if you get into a fight with fire monsters, your water drains more. And if you get into a fight
Really?
with yeah,
I
and
didn't even notice.
if you get into a fight in the evening, it either goes down a little bit less or you actually gain a little bit back. I think it's the cacti monsters that are the best ones to fight. But they're
Oh
annoying
my
because they can
god.
paralyze you all the time.
Yes, they
Like,
can.
they
And
are
and
annoying.
they have just like they spit spines out all the time that are hard to block.
Yeah,
I think I
they're the
only had
one.
one paralysis charm, and it only reduces the chances by 50%.
Does
It
anybody
was
know how to start a fight in this game without having the enemy attack you first?
Um,
if you hit him with the
So bad.
sorcerer's ring, sometimes it'll stun them, and then you can go into the attack having the enemy stunned. But that doesn't work all the
Yeah.
time. Sometimes it'll just make the enemy stun on the map, and you can avoid them.
uh-huh. But yeah, like the Santa Kagura are really annoying because there are a couple of really good treasure chests, and I always miss one or two of them that have really good weapons in
I'm
them. And
sure
it's
I missed some, but forget
yeah.
it. I'm not going back in there.
Don't worry. You don't have to, which is really nice. I like the way that they add that in every time you go back to that continent. But at the end of it, you have to find some kid's parents which you come across, and Patty's digging around in the sand for a pirate treasure, and then you get attacked by some weird space manta ray, which like what on earth is that? And then you are taken
Yeah,
to
it looked like one of those alien Pokemon from Sun Moon.
it does an ultra beast.
Yeah.
The ultra beast of Vesperia. But then you get taken to a place called Jormungand, and actually, I skipped over a little bit with the Atherum, which is the pirate ship. One on the Atherum,
Oh, right.
you pick up a box which has a clear Ciel crystal in it, and there's a diary next to it that says, take this back to I can't remember her name, and it's written like 500 years ago.
fan in
UA
Jormungand.
fan.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah, UA
And
fan
she
in
wanted
Jormungand.
light shade or something. It's like, oh dear.
Yeah, and then you that attracts the monsters at Nordopolica, and then you have to take this box back to Jormungand. This is another thing that Estelle wants you to do. Take a box to someone 500 years ago in the past, and somehow you end up in Jormungand with this person called Yue Fan, and everyone's really confused because they know the date in the diary, and this person's there, and they're like, "Oh, I wanted the box. I've been waiting for this for ages," and nobody thinks like, "Why are they still here?" They're like, "Well, this didn't happen yesterday." But Jormungand's a really strange diversion, and actually feels really nostalgic because it looks like one of the desert towns in Tales of Symphonia. It reminds me of the Desert Trail, and it's really cute. And then you go into this building,
I just
and
kind of want to take this moment to say I love the both town world design and the music. It's very pleasant.
it's really lovely. I love chilling in Jormungand, and I kind of get a
There's
bit
sort of like a nice
sad.
kind of blurry filter too that kind of makes everything just look like it's out of a cartoon too. So
Yeah, well, I mean,
everything
it's
looks soft and nice, and the colors are vivid, and every place feels cozy.
yeah.
The towns in this game have a really good design, and Jormungand is so pleasant and sort of pastoral. It almost feels like the first town of some RPGs.
Yeah, it is really, really nice. So this place doesn't have a Blastia, which again raises issues, and everyone's concerned about it. But yeah,
They don't know
you're
what a Blastia is.
exactly. They don't know Blastia, and it's like, but you take the crystal to the house, which at the end of the village, which is supposed to be some kind of sage, and it turns out to be Duke, who takes the crystal off you, tells you what it is, and then destroys it. And then you're like,
Hey,
what is that? But then he comes
hey.
out, and this is where all the plot revelations start to kind of come to a head. So Raven's been
Yeah.
off there, and then Duke tells you that Estelle is something called the child of the full moon,
I
And
don't understand what that is still.
so I think it's alluded to more in the second half of the game, but basically they came about. They're basically the pre-harbingers to the royal family. So everyone in the royal family has Child of the Full Moon blood. Estelle's is just particularly powerful, but they are the people who sealed away the real big bad. And
Yeah,
yeah,
the Act 3 bad.
yeah, the Act 3, not physical bad.
Isn't that good? Why do the Intellectia hate them?
Because their power, Estelle's magic uses this again. This is more second half of the game, but Estelle's healing magic doesn't require a Blastia, but her formula, because everything that uses air requires a
It's
formula.
formula.
It's extremely it consumes a lot of air, and that is putting a strain on the world environmentally.
Oh.
So yeah, which is why a lot of stuff.
Blastia are already putting a strain on the environmental world, which is why Judith was going around destroying them.
Correct.
But Estelle is an even more extreme version of a powerful Blastia in terms of how much strain it does. And I think and Duke is also motivated to protect the world, and I think that large Apatheia can also create a reaction that does an extreme amount of drain, which is why he smashed that one, and why Estelle, who was holding the Apatheia of the leader of Nordopolica, it reacted with the Blastia on their boat. And
Yes.
It reacted so violently and made it start to run so powerfully that Judith, who normally would let it slide if she was going on a boat powered by Blastia, immediately destroyed the boat's Blastia and left.
Yeah, and then that's when Rita finds out.
Yeah, that's how she outed
I do like
herself.
some of the more comedic cutscenes where like Judith will just walk off when she hears there's Blastia around. And just
like
innocuously runs off.
Yeah, and she normally...
And then you just hear the commotion.
She doesn't go around destroying every single Blastia when she's with your party. She's like, okay, it's to my benefit that they don't know I'm the Dragon Rider, so I'm not going to go and smash every Blastia I see. Like, she didn't try to destroy the boat's Blastia...
The first time.
Like, the first time. But yeah, it was too much seeing the boat Blastia react to the Apatheia, and oh my god, the past 5 minutes I've used so many made-up words.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's a reason that she's going around destroying Blastia, and there are particular Blastia she is going around and destroying anyway, which is what we found out at Mount Temsa, which we'll cover probably next episode. But yeah, since we've alluded to it, after Jormungand, you go back through the desert. You can go on the world map now, which is fine. You go back to Mantake, and you find out that Cumore, who was the wonderful fun villain of oh god,
yeah, I've been complimenting the designs up until this point. It
not
stops
him.
with him.
Oh, definitely not him. And it's the return of Dist as well, which I can't take seriously. Like, his voice actor is exactly the same.
The Japanese or English language one?
English, yeah. Okay. It's the same voice actor. But not as good as Dist. Yeah, Cumore is a real piece of work again, and he gets what he deserves. Oh boy. Like,
Hey, Yuri didn't do anything. Yuri didn't kill Cumore. He just walked him to the edge of some quicksand.
That's exactly what Flynn thinks.
He just walked.
Exactly.
Yuri's innocent.
Yuri is entirely innocent, but I mean, Flynn watches it and sees it, and he's not impressed. And one of the nice things about the game is that Flynn takes a lot of credit, like ends up getting a lot of credit, so he gets the credit for liberating the town, but like he acknowledges it, and it's again a point later on in the game. Like, Flynn is well aware that it's not him doing all this stuff, and he's like, no, Yuri, take the credit, and Yuri's like, no, I don't want it. But he has this long discussion with Yuri by the Oasis, and Estelle overhears and finds out that Yuri has been killing all of these people, and so she just kind of accepts it and moves on. But the rest of the team don't quite find out just yet. They don't. It's not long. Like, they find out, I think, on the boat. And I think it's who is it that says it? Oh, I can't remember. But yeah, they're when they're leaving the continent, everybody finds out what Yuri's done, and a lot of stuff happens. But returning back to Nordopolica, it's the full moon. We go and see Bellius, and we find out she's an Entelechea. Then the Hunting Blades turn up. My god, do the Hunting Blades never know when to give up. And the boss fight that happens occurs when Estelle Bellius is heavily injured by Tyson, who's the leader of the Hunting Blades, and Estelle goes to heal her. That causes another reaction for two different formulas against each other, and Bellius goes crazy, and the only way to stop her is by killing her and turning her into an apatheia, and it's a pretty sad moment.
Yeah.
All instigated by the Don's grandson by accident, because he gets a wind that Bellius has an apatheia, so uses the hunting blades. I'm assuming he finds out she's an Entelechea, because there's no way he'd get the hunting blades involved otherwise.
And
But
I think the knights fed him that information, because
yes,
when they started to move, the knights put a blockade up so no one else could get in or out of Nordopolica, probably so the guild people would be uninterrupted. Unfortunately, our heroes are great interrupters.
well, I mean, yeah, you've actually made me skip over a really important point, which I never noticed on my first playthrough. Raven saying attention to
Yeah.
the two Schwann
Yep.
Brigade knights. I never picked up on it, and now every time I'm like, why? Why did I not notice this really important bit where all of a sudden these random strangers are listening to
He shows up
someone?
in Care Bachram as orange, but you just don't see his face. And again, I never really put two and two together. But I think it's
Yeah.
cool, his role.
You see, oh, I don't want to go into this until the second half of the episode, but there are some faceless versions of. Watch for the orange and gold armor. That's all.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they added some of those in for the definitive edition as well, because I don't remember it being as heavily alluded to in the original Xbox 360 version, but I'm sure
I was a big surprise to me in the Xbox 360 version. When you see the guy, when you fight the guy in orange and gold armor.
It is one of my favorite bits of the game, and I'm excited to talk about it. But yeah, so that bit really surprised me in the Weezand and Kardos. But yeah, Bellius's death is really horrible, and this is the first time as well that you're getting a sense, because Yuri's just become captain of the Flynn Brigade, and now Yuri's suspicious because he's doing things that are un-Flynn-like. Which, if that's not a romance thing that you understand so much, then I have no idea what it is. But he just gets he knows Flynn inside out, and he knows something's wrong. And this is the first instance that Alexei's name's kind of redropped into the conversation, and you think, why is he taking orders from the commandant? Why does the commandant want apatheia and things like that? And yeah, things just kind of go spiral from here onwards. And the last thing that happens is we somehow get sidelined off to the Manor of the Wicked, which is Leviathan's Claw's hideout. I think to chase after the Don, because Bellius's dying wish was to take her apatheia back to the Don, who's her best friend. And you end up going to the Manor of the Wicked because he's not in Darngrest. And this is where Jaeger kind of switches between good and evil here, because he's fighting the Don, but at the same time he's showing some kind of respect, because I don't know, he's just a strange character who I never really grasp and I find really interesting. But he comes up at the end of this section anyway.
His plot relevance is kind of weird too.
Yeah,
He's all over the place.
Yeah, he is. But then you go to the Manor of the Wicked, you go to fight Jaeger, you don't fight anything there. You fight some enemies, but not a boss. And the Don is there trying to exact revenge on Jaeger, I think for betraying the Union, because they find out about his collusions with the Knights. But yeah, and you go back to Dongress because Palestrale have found out that the grandson of the Don is responsible for Bellius's death and wants something in return.
Damn it, Harry.
Yeah, and the Don puts himself and his head up for it, and I cried. Oh my god, I knew it was happening this time, but I was so sad. It's one of the hardest moments I think to take in, because it's the first death really that Yuri feels powerlessly. He chose to kill Rigaud and Cumore because it was good for justice, but he's the second for the Don, and he hates every second of it, but he doesn't hesitate again. This is one of those moments he regrets but doesn't hesitate, and kind of shows his maturity. And the Don is just such a good character. I wish there was more of him, but alas, he is a sacrifice for what he thinks is justice, I suppose.
That's a lot of story.
It's a lot of story happening at once, and it
wraps a few of its ends a little bit too clean, but there is a lot of plot, and for the most part, it does really good with many of its elements.
It feels like the Sands of Kogor are the worst, most annoying part of the game, but right after those, it's just nonstop drama for like
Mm-hmm.
5 hours.
Well, yeah,
But
we've not
it,
got
like
Judy at the moment
yeah,
either.
without much of a break. So it's yeah. I'm really excited to play more. I am right before Dawn dies in the game. But I'm gonna be. I think I want to play this right after we're done recording. I can't do Steph's thing because I keep my PS4 in a different room of the house.
Yeah, a lot happens afterwards as well. So we've kind of left it with the Don's death, all Tusk and the Union trying to rebuild themselves and in a bit of a state, to be honest. Raven, though, is allowed to like jolt around the world and do whatever he wants, so he carries on with you. But we're going to Mount Temsa, and that is where I'm gonna call it there, I think, because everything from here onwards is kind of crazier. Like, you find out a lot about what's going on with the world, you find out more about the villains, and then there's the whole of Act 3 to go on about, which is an entirely different fish of its own. But yeah, I think that's probably about it. If there's anything anybody else wants to say, then I don't know, go for it. I mean, I'm excited to dig in. I'm full confession, this is the second time I've played this in 2 months or a month, so I know what's happening pretty fresh, but like I'm trying to do all the side quests.
Yeah,
So
this is my first time playing it in about, I think, 7 or 8 years. And I said this at the beginning of the podcast, I think, but I don't remember every plot detail and character detail of the game, so I'm not even. I'm a lot of the time I'm probably experiencing PS3 content and not realizing it. But
mm,
I like as I play it, I'm reminded why I liked it so much the first time, and I'm surprised by things that I've forgotten, and the surprises feel good. This is a cool RPG world, a cool RPG plot. It is Tales as hell, anime as hell, but I am really, really enjoying it. This isn't going to be one that I lose interest in and maybe don't finish for the podcast. This is one that I'm going to be wanting to get to right after I finish work every day.
I hope so, because Act 3 is a bit of a downer for me, but
I'll
we'll
last
get
through
to
it
that.
just
After
to
the
get
rush of
shiny
everything
skills and
else, yeah.
weapons.
Yeah, but yeah, everything gets a bit crazy from here, and we end on a really crazy note anyway, and a bit of a downer. But that is it for this week's episode. Join us next week for more Tales of Vesperia. We'll be digging into the second half of Act 2 and Act 3, as well as some of the side quests and some of the secret dungeons, the missions, all sorts of things. So please come back to that, and please come find out if Rastel or Flurry are canon, because that is what I find really important. In terms of
I
other
think
retro
they're
encounters,
more interesting than where the game pushes you.
well, Rastel's really cute. I just love their relationship, and I love how it blossoms. And like there is a skit that is very explicitly like, "Are you two in love?" kind of thing. So yeah, it's hidden away. But no, next for March, Retro Encounter is going back way further. We're going right back to the Super Nintendo. For the first time in a while, we're going to Lufia 2 Rise of the Sinistrals, which is, I think it's the first Super Nintendo game we've done since Super Mario RPG, so nearly a year, which is really impressive. But yeah, I'm excited to hear about that. It's something I've never played before. I know we've got some big fans of that game on the podcast, so please look forward to that. And I don't know whether I'm allowed to say this yet. We do have a spoiler cast coming your way at some point.
Yes, there is a recent video game that a lot of people on RPG Fan like, and we are going to have a spoiler cast come up as soon as we have enough people complete it to record an episode.
Yeah.
Beat around the bush what game it is.
Oh,
People can
yeah.
figure it out. I'm not gonna give any clues.
The game with lights and hearts and darkness and X's. Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna be on that episode. I'm about halfway through it, just over, so by the time you're listening to this, I've probably finished it and probably recorded it. I have no idea. But yeah, a couple of big Kingdom Hearts fans, which is, hey, there you go. I just slipped out. It just slipped out. Yeah, a couple of big fans of that game are going to be on the Kingdom Hearts 3 spoiler cast. So please look forward to that one. The rest of the month isn't quite planned out yet, I believe, but we've got some exciting stuff in the works for the coming months anyway. So please just always tune in to us, listen to us. If you do want to get in contact or make any suggestions for episodes, though, please email us at retro@rpgfan.com. No, please don't email us asking to play Kingdom Hearts again, but you can ask us to play Kingdom Hearts 2 if you really want, along with other suggestions, feedback, anything like that. Mike's the person on the end of the keyboard, so if you get a reply, it will be from him. Also, RPG Fan is full of content every day. We have forums. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Discord. You'll literally find us anywhere. We've got so much stuff going on every day. We have fun fan questions on Facebook. We have reviews, 3 or 4 a week. We have news items, really fun features, Kickstarters, Twitch stuff, streaming every day. So please come and visit the front page because we're really lovely, friendly people and everyone does such awesome jobs. We also have 2 other podcasts, Random Encounter, which is being headed up by Greg Delmage now. So that's going to be a lot of fun to tune into, all about current events, news items, and all sorts. So please come and listen to those. We also have Rhythm Encounter, which is coming back at some point. I swear, I promise to all of you listening, you don't need to keep crying after it because it is in the works and we will bring episodes to you whenever we can, but it is on the cards, I promise.
It is not dead, but we cannot give any information as to when it will be alive again.
Correct. But anyway, if you want to listen to Retro Encounter specifically, please go to your normal podcasting listening channels on iTunes, Google Play, wherever you go, really. We love your feedback. Please give us reviews. Please subscribe to us as well, because if you subscribe to either our podcasts, you get our names out there, and that is really good. And we would love more listeners. We love what we do. We want to spread. We have a lot of fun recording these, and we know the people who listen to them have a lot of fun listening to them and just really indulging in our fun conversations about what we love and hate about RPGs and everything. So please subscribe to us if you've enjoyed this episode or any of the other episodes. It would do us so many favors. But otherwise, if you want to get in contact with us directly, where is the best place to find us? So, Mike, where can we find you?
The easiest place is probably Twitter. I'm at The Real Monsoon and at Evoker for Dogs. One is my main, one is my alt. And I am also Monsoon Mike on Discord, Monsoon on the forums, and Mike Sollosi in real life.
Just in case you come up to his door and are like, hey, you do that podcast I really like. Yeah.
What's my name?
Evoker.
Evoker.
You're goddamn right.
I mean, is Evoker like your Entelakea name and your real name is like Monsoon? I don't know.
I don't know. I have not put that much thought into it at all.
Oh, and Steph, where can we find you?
You can usually find me. I'm the one responding to you on social media, so that's pretty cool. But you can also find me personally on Twitter at Dice, DICE, Dice SMS.
Yeah, and Steph does all of the Instagram stuff as well, so she has some really fun videos on there.
Yeah,
really
check out
cool
her Instagram.
features.
It's really nice. I rate it.
But yeah, if listeners want to reach out to me directly, the best place again is probably Twitter. I am at Alana Hagues. I am on the RPG Fan Discord at Diving Falcons. If you want to email me, if you really feel like it, if you want to find out about reviews or anything I specifically do, or just want to talk about my opinions on Retro Encounter, that is alanah@rpgfan.com. But that about does it. So do justice and punish the unjust we will next week. And please join the Retro Encounter Guild for the next episode of Tales of Vesperia. Thank you, good night, and good luck.
Roof.